In Africa, natural death does not exist. Death never arrives. It is sent by God or by a medicine man. Illness is not a natural fact, but a weapon in the hands of dark powers. Nevertheless, it is not easy to die from old age on a continent where 15% of the children do not live past the age of 5, and where 30 million people are condemned to death by AIDS. A continent where a third of the population suffers from some kind of congenital illness, and where the life expectancy is less than 52 years of age in the cities and 39 in the rural areas.
His grandfather was a fisherman, so the father also took to September. He fell ill again, and then this time all efforts to cure him failed. He then decided to go to the garden of the ancestors for a medicine to cure his. He went and he did not come back. So this happened on 16th January. He have to be kept for some time to prepare grounds for his burial. So the family met and then decided finally to bring him out of the mortuary on 31st of October. Then to bury him on this 2nd October. This is what you see today that we are preparing for. And there you will see the corpse lying, and then the coffin over there.
In Teshi, a suburb of the capital of Ghana, fantasy coffins, objects, and figures are made according to the personality of the deceased. If he was a hunter, the coffin is designed in the form of a lion. If he was a soldier, he may be buried inside a submachine gun. Or a car if he was a taxi driver.
The first person to start this kind of traditional coffins in Ghana. First, I think it started with a fish. When a fisherman died, and he's a big man in the town, so the family decided to bury him with something similar to the fish. So that is how the business started. Yeah.
If you die, you are die.
If you die, you are dead. Whether they bury you in a normal coffin or in a fantasy coffin, you don't know where you're headed. Perhaps you're a plumber, and they bury you in a monkey wrench. Everyone will attend your funeral to see the monkey wrench. If you're a farmer, we can make you a banana, a pineapple, or a cocoa bean.
Or banana, or pineapple, or cocoa pot.
Someone came here to ask me for a camera, like this one I have back here. Someone else asked me for a cellular phone. This is the photograph. Someone came from the United States once and asked me to make him a World War II airplane.
When my father walked to the carpenter, he used to say he wants an eagle when the moment comes. So when he died, I and my mother chose the eagle for him. Funerals in Ghana is really expensive, but we have to do it for my father. He was a big man, respected of everybody here in Teshi. So his funeral has to become as big as he was.
No one should miss an African burial without a well-justified excuse. Furthermore, everyone should cry as hard as possible, or else the others may think that he or she desires some evil for the deceased. The music and songs should cheer up the path to the cemetery. The more people sing and dance, the happier the deceased will be. No expense or noise should be spared. It is better to run into debt than to offend the deceased.
The question of talking to the dead person, generally we believe that from here we go to another world. The moment somebody dies, we consider that they join the world of our grandfathers and our fathers and so forth. Now, when they are talking to the person, they could say all sorts of things. Sometimes they will say, when you go, tell those who are there, we have this and that problem, so they should help us. And sometimes they tell him, now you are dead. It is not clear to us what killed you. So, as soon as you get there, make sure you come and take the person or persons who killed you. Maybe there's a woman who doesn't have children. When you go, make sure you bring some child to this or that person.
The Christians don't use these coffins, but they prefer the normal one.
But
I make them coffins in the form of a Bible or church building. There are different models for Christians. We suffer before we depart. The family places useful things inside the coffin for the trip, such as food, drinks, anything. There was a person who liked to smoke, and they buried him with a cigarette in his mouth.
The deceased are usually carried around the town so that everyone has a chance to say goodbye. They make detours in order to confuse the deceased so that he doesn't remember the way back, in case he is tempted to harm the living.
A whale in the sea is the supreme of all the fishes. There is no fish that is more bigger or more stronger than the whale is. So being a very great chief fisherman, it is the National Fishermen Council who decided to buy the whale.
Finally, the funeral procession arrives at the cemetery. After waiting 11 months to celebrate the burial, however, some details have been overlooked. The coffin is larger than the grave, and the whale's tail has to be cut so that it fits in the hole. The Dogon ethnic group has 8 souls of both sexes that they share with the Bozo ethnic group. In their settlements, the fermentation of alcohol is identified with the deceased. The deceased who haven't formally left to join their ancestors and whose souls wander around the town are those who provoke beer fermentation. Their effects are a warning for the living from the dead so that they begin the ceremonies that consecrate their passage to the rank of ancestor.
The burial is celebrated as soon as the elderly person dies, and the funeral is carried out after the millet harvest. We only celebrate a death in this way when the person who's died is old, meaning that he or she is over the age of 50. The death of a miner is never celebrated.
Once the funeral is held for someone who is considered dead, he is not accepted among the living, even if he returns. The family will deny that they know him, and that person will be destined to live in poverty.
Today we have not brought the Kanaga mask out since we have not collected the millet yet. If the cadaver were a woman who died during childbirth, her widower would have to make love to a stranger in order to cleanse his soul, even if he has to rape her to do so.
It's unthinkable when you see them like this, their little hands that are so perfect and everything is so perfect, to think that they are going to die at some point. I can't imagine it. She's quite a sweetie. Her name is Dipapalo, and she's 2.5 years old, and she's blind. This is Tuli. And her name means quiet, but she's not. Are you tired? You want to sleep? Yes. It's good to sleep, eh? He was very, very ill, but he's now on antiretroviral treatment, and that's why he's quite big and strong. Can you see over there? And over here? Here? Can you see the glands? And it's quite painful because it's hard and it's swollen.
Sparrow Rainbow Village was the first residential development in the world to be established to meet the needs of terminally ill AIDS patients. It continues to be the only one in Africa. Sparrow Rainbow Village is almost a city, and its 500 inhabitants, who are mostly children, are fighting to shake off the threat of death.
This is our tree of remembrance, and you can have a look. Not all of the sparrows are on. Basically, all these little sparrows with the little names on and the date of birth and the date of passing away are done in remembrance of those people whom we've lost in the last 10 years. There should be over 700 of these little sparrows on the tree. We've lost over 700 patients in the last 10 years, and it would be significant to put them up here as a tree of remembrance, because these are the people that did not quite make it.
Of the 36 million people who were infected with AIDS in the year 2000, 30 million were Africans. Treatment to stop the effects of AIDS cost €1,000 per person per year. %90 of the people infected with AIDS in Africa do not have medical insurance or the means to pay for treatment. All of these children are orphans infected with the HIV virus whose parents died because of AIDS. Today, there are approximately 1 million orphans in this situation in South Africa. Every year, 80,000 newborn babies are added to this sinister list. And if the progression continues, in the year 2000, there will be between 2 and 3 million newborn babies with AIDS. At Sparrow Rainbow Village, a week without a burial is quite uncommon.
The story about this baby is that his mother is 19 years old. She came from the Transkei, which is quite far down in the Cape, and she came up to Johannesburg to try and find a job. Like any young girl of that age, she obviously got sexually involved and got AIDS, not realizing it was less than 2 years ago. She's very ill, and she left the babies with the twins, with the neighbor who was here. And then she just couldn't cope, and she said she'd come back, she'd get money, but obviously she's not earning anything, and she may be living with somebody. We're not here to judge, but she went away and the one baby died. She knew about it, but she was not coping again. And yeah, we're trying to get hold of her.
Is there many babies that we're losing?
Too many.
Thank you.
We started off with a small home. I think you went with us this morning, saw the first one, tiny little house with 3 people. And at that stage, AIDS was very new to South Africa. It was 1992. And we just had a few homosexual chaps in because nobody was looking after them. They were dying in the gutters and everywhere. And those were the really poor guys. And out of sympathy and empathy, we took them in and nursed them.
Can you please love these people? They're just like me and you. They need love, care, everything. You mustn't ignore them. You mustn't close the doors for them.
This one is my daughter, Pilsi Wilala. I come from Bramfish. I spent 3 months here. I was not going, but they helped me to live. I thought I was dying. Even now, I was thinking that my daughter will die. But I prayed. I asked God to borrow me my daughter.
Kepha-ke thina ngiyakubonga ngoba thina esisebenza neSparrow nabanye abafikayo uthola ukuthi inkosi yami sibamune, amen, njengengane zomuntu oyedwa. Manje siyakubonga kakhulu, esikubonga kakhulu futhi manje.
The mother's only 19 years old and she's probably sick herself, very sick. And where we often get patients is these mind dumps. So she probably went to one of those because she knew not what to do next. She was probably a bit overwhelmed. And this is her little sister. The baby that died that we buried this morning. Can I put you back? Can I put you back?
Working here, it's a call from God. Because I didn't work for so many years after I finished my school. So God, I think this is a call because He gave me this job. I think it's the way He wants me to work for Him. AIDS is there and it's killing. It's killing everybody, mother, child, father, everybody.
I was taking care of the animals on the farm, but they infected me with something and I fell ill. They took me to the hospital, and since then I have not been able to work. I got sick, and they brought me here. The social worker visited me yesterday and told me that she would come to see me again. Now I want to get better. I want to recover and go back to work.
Of the 15 million people who have died from AIDS in the world, 11 million were Africans. In the year 2000, there were 600,000 children with AIDS in the world. 550,000 of them were African. In the Western world, the death rate due to AIDS is being reduced every year. In Africa, it multiplies every month.
It's amazing to see them get better. It's just the simple philosophy we have, and giving them absolute stress-free environment and unconditional love. Thank you, Fuji. What about your burial? Who's going to see to those things? Now you're finished with dying, let's start to live. Because I too am going to die. We're human beings, we are born to die. And don't focus on that, but let's live. And the whole secret here in this house is our motto. Let's get up and live. So we do that. We encourage them to eat, we encourage their relatives to come here. If they're desperately ill and we think there's a possibility they'll die, we'll encourage the relative, the mother, the father, whoever, to come and spend a day or two here and even sleep here if necessary. I think for the future, I hope that the vaccine works. We've been asked what we'll do with this if the vaccine comes along and makes a marvelous cure or whatever. There will still be a lot of orphans who will need looking after, and AIDS-related illnesses still hanging around. People, when they hit that low of terminal illness, it takes them a long time to get up again. It's not impossible, but they'll still need help and care. And should there be a marvelous cure found that everybody's running around healthy in a year or two, which is impossible, there are still the disabled who could use this facility.
The nomadic cattle herders of the Sahel, the Fulani, have a very particular view of death. Their first distinguished deceased person was the biblical figure Abel. He took care of the goats while his brother Cain was a farmer. According to the Fulani, Abel's goats entered Cain's lands and ate the harvest. When Cain protested, Abel simply laughed, trying to make light of the situation. That is why Cain killed him, because Abel laughed at him.
We do not believe in life after death. We do not worship our ancestors. For us, it is important to have many children so that they remember our name. A man without children dies 2 times.
The Fulani celebrate life and death with the same lack of transcendence. Their wedding feasts are also a celebration which honors the beginning of the period of death. They are held at the end of the rainy season, which crosses over into the start of the dry season, when the death of the weakest men and animals is inevitable. The infant mortality rate among the nomads of the Sahel is twice as high as those in the sedentary rural communities, and 5 times higher than those in the cities, like Bamako and Niamey.
Due to the death of our children, we have considered abandoning this life in order to emigrate to the cities. I once went to Niamey and had to fill out a form for the census record. The first question asked if I had children, and the second one asked if any of them were still alive.
En Afrique ici, la joie se traduit par le tam-tam.
Here in Africa, happiness is transmitted by means of the tam-tam, and sadness is also transmitted by means of the tam-tam. Everything that comes from deep down inside us is transmitted by means of the tam-tam. Death is transmitted through the tam-tam. This means that a griot tells the story of the person who's passed away through the different rhythms that he plays and the different sounds that he produces.
Qui est décédé que l'on raconte ou de celle qui est décédée que l'on raconte.
My husband died a year ago. We have been saving and waiting for the moment when everyone can come so that we can celebrate his funeral.
C'est-à-dire, il y a un langage.
There is a specialized language that a griot plays in order to announce the death of a leader. After this announcement, the people will follow him in order to attend the funeral.
Issa Sanou is getting ready to attend the funeral of his uncle.
Bonjour les musiciens. Bonjour. Hello. Issa. Ça va? Ça va bien? Ça va très bien. Et vous? Et la danseuse, où elle est? Ouais, elle est là.
He left his small village years ago and moved to the city, to Bobo Dioulasso. Just like other young boys of his village, he believed that his future only made sense if he were to take on the new challenges of modern life. His dream was to become a musician, and so he joined a band, which at present performs in the bars of Bobo Dioulasso. He now is called upon his group to return to his village in order to perform at his uncle's funeral.
Mon oncle était très gentil.
My uncle was very friendly, very strict, and he did not like the fact that the boys did not want to carry on the tradition.
Mais la seule chose qu'il n'a pas aimé,
the only thing he could not stand was that I did not carry on the forge.
Il n'aimait pas ça beaucoup.
But in djembe, there are also pieces of iron manufactured by blacksmiths, and their sound is similar to those of our blacksmiths.
C'est la même chose comme les forges.
There was a time when the blacksmiths had a lot of power, and we still have it. The kings trusted us because we worked with metal and we forged the weapons that granted them power. We were their right-hand men. My brother was a great blacksmith, a magician.
If there is an argument between two people, only a blacksmith is able to resolve the dispute, even if there is a death involved. He is the one who has the power of reconciliation. He has the power over the other castes. They are people who laugh at bullets, since they possess a kind of magic that keeps the bullets from penetrating their bodies. These people make fun of fire, since they dominate it. The blacksmith women come together in the morning to mold the clay and to make the jugs that are needed for producing the millet beer, which is very typical at their funerals.
Là où nous avons maintenu au niveau bobo l'allumage du feu.
Within the Bobo world, the lighting of the fire by a blacksmith woman only takes place when there is a death.
Pour faire bouillir l'eau doit être allumé spécifiquement par la femme forgeronne.
This fire will make the water boil and is only handled by the women who know the secret behind getting the good spirits to move the deceased in order to help that person enter the other good side of life.
Et du bon côté de l'au-delà.
Tamana kabon sena fo padwa. Tamana kabon sena fo gwen. Tamana kabon sena, tamana kabo kuluba, tamana kabon sena, tamana kabo gwen, tamana kabon kele fo padwa, ne beta padwa, beta gwen, e ka soro kana pagala yele, padwa, ne beta padwa, beta gwen, e ka soro kana pagala yele. Wagadugo ya yele yam song taba nyamada ton song taba tono na yal sikuba abugo dogo no taba song taba ya yele ya soma ya yele. Mon village My
village is a very small one. Since the death of my uncle, I have not returned, even though it is close to the city. The streets are filled with jugs that the women make, and the sound of the blacksmith's hammers never ceases.
In the world of the dead, an inverted life develops. When it is day here, it is night there. When it is the rainy season here, it is the dry season there. The dead are awake when the living are asleep. They enter their homes through the back door. They walk on their heads, and their right side corresponds to our left side. That is why it is necessary to speak to them backwards and not to expect anything logical from them. On occasion, they refuse to leave this world.
As we say, you did not refuse to enter this world, and you cannot refuse to leave it either. Therefore, when an elderly person dies, his or her young descendants celebrate it and take advantage of the event to get a little money.
We play music with the same hand that we eat with, the strong and hard hand.
Le tam-tam donne la grâce que la
The
personne
tam-tam transmits the joy that the
Lorsque
person
les
has experienced.
viennent et qu'ils entendent les tam-tam,
The people who understand the sound of the tam-tam well know what the deceased was like, even if they barely knew him or her.
Dans le temps, on disait que
They used to say that the one who had died did not abandon this life forever, but was headed for the forest to become a wild animal.
en un animal sauvage.
Life and death are not the same thing for everyone. The earth is like a market. Your descendants will be rewarded according to how you have behaved on earth.
sommes tous des étrangers.
We are all foreign in this land.
On passe un bout de temps.
As time passes, we disappear.